Forces of the unknown have caused our world to merge/combine with a typical or not so typical fantasy world. Old world governments have managed to hold on to power urban and suburban areas, but rural areas range from fragile peace to complete chaos. People in towns from either side suddenly find themselves in a new realm, and portals going between both worlds are scattered throughout the lands. Be me and on, camping in the woods. Took a week off to go with some old friends from high school, from back before the merge. Better times, but worse times at the same time. One of the guys brought this demi-human girlfriend. Some crazy tsundere bitch with cat ears. Hasn't stopped affectionately insulting him all night, but he seems to like it. Never pegged him for a masochist, but people change. The one that really changed was Phil. Phil came out as a gay back in school. We all told him he was a fag, but he was our fag. But this was a little over the line. He brought his boyfriend. But fine, everyone brought their own shelter anyway. So as long as they keep it down, or so I thought. Turns out this guy is an orc. And a big orc. Seems alright so far. Brought some booze to share. Still weary. Around a goblinoid. Always be paranoid. Everyone else silently shares my worries, even as the literal faggot orc continues to be a bro by passing around a plate of full jerky he made himself. Nice to see Phil found a guy who wasn't a campy bastard. Camp gay is the worst kind. Sniff jerky before eating, but nobody thinks it's weird. I've always done that for some autistic reason or another. Jerky is spicy, as the Lord intended. The night wears on. People get wasted and eat jerky. Fagork whips out a fucking 12-string from his kit, made of wood and metal, carved with a little orcish writing. Fagork just strums along on his orcish guitar. Pretty nice style, like if Jimi Hendrix had learned to play acoustic instead, although Hendrix may have been who he was trying to emulate. Eventually get so wasted I black out. Next morning, hangover, surrounded by empty magazines and spent brass. Shirt is not only not on me, but entirely absent from the sight. Fashioned an MRE wrapper into a hat at some point. Vague recollection of someone screaming Skinwalker. Check for signs. Lol, just a single dead goblin with a few hundred rounds in it. It had a golden coin which I pocket. Fagork keeps being a bro by passing around a hangover cure. Fagork isn't so bad after all. Nobody ass-raped or murdered in their sleep. Nothing stolen. Phil obviously trusts him. Shake his hand. Ask him to keep in touch for further parties. He agrees. And that's how I made friends with a faggot orc. Be me, Wagner operative. Get exploded in Mariupol. Wake up on the border of Skyrim. What the fuck, .jpg? Realize I still have my shit on me. I'm handcuffed though. Luckily, only my wrists are cuffed. Grab a hand grenade and throw it into the carriage ahead. Everyone dies. The survivors are in awe of my Thoom and start worshipping me. Victory? Threadly prompt. What's the proper way to avoid getting raped in the butt by elf women when alone? Kevlar undies and rape 'em back. Hi everyone, so I came up with some elf races. The best fantasy race for Fankishi, based off of Viking folklore, kinda like J.R. Tolkien. Here's the list is: regular elves, light elves, high elves, wood elves, dark elves, shadow elves, sea elves, wild elves, bright elves, snow elves, night elves, day elves, fire elves, earth elves, water elves, wind elves, horned elves, chocolate elves, twilight elves, elves with tails, winged elves, fat elves, Futanari elves, dwarf elves, green-skinned elves, albino elves that live in caves and are malnourished, half-elves, half-elf, half-elf, centaur elves, Christmas elves, dark elves from Thor, elves that have rabies, moon elves, sun elves, blood elves, blue-skinned elves with AIDS, African elves, they are black, apes that are cousins to elves and have pointy ears. Cloud elves, land elves, sea elves, sick elves, poison elves, dead elves, volcano elves, shrimp elves, blue elves like from Avatar, giant elves, were elves, Neander elves, pink skin elves, just like Ponk skin, thick elves, Elves with 2 S's, island elves, space elves, lightning elves, void elves, vampire elves, poop elves. Sorry, I just had to make a little joke in here, XD. Fart elves. Whoops, I did it again. Get the fuck off of my board, new fag. We should be talking about Ukraine and Israel. Boss, but it's a human midget, 5'6", in a town full of dwarves. Weird timing. I've been kicking around a story idea for an alt history World War II that fits decently within the thread. Tunguska event is actually the opening of a dimensional gate. Dragon-like creatures cross into our world. Stay confined to inner Siberia until the late teens. Population boom from feasting on the dead from the Russian and Chinese Civil War. Locals begin worshipping them, offering sacrifices to keep themselves alive. Dragon worshippers take power in Russia and China by the early 1930s. Begin raiding neighboring countries for sacrifices. Not sure how I'd do the rest of the world stage. I mainly just want to have heavy fighters boom and zooming fucking dragons with 50 API and 20mm. That's weird because I also have been mulling over a World War I setting that diverges from the Tunguska event for about 5 years. Tunguska itself crashes into Siberia mostly intact. Spews supernatural phenomena across the surrounding area. The great powers send expeditions into the XP of the punitive expeditions to China. The meteor itself is full of boundless caverns, like Stalker's Zone, mixed with some fantasy elements. Spoiler, only problem is I am a dogshit artist and have been for 5 years. Wow, haven't seen one of these in a good while, but haven't been on K in a while either. Any progress on Skinwalker GF story or Black Powder Anon story? Glad to see these threads are still a thing. I showed my wood elf my compound bow and he called me a faggot and said it wasn't a real bow, 'cause it ain't got wood. Be me! Been shooting since I was a kid. Done some competitions. Not a Chris Kyle or anything, but I'm pretty okay for a competitive amateur. Fucking elves start competing last year. Instantly start placing near the bottom of every competition. It's not my fault they evolved eyes that can hit a target reliably with irons at 1.5 miles. Complain to shooting orgs. They just tell me to get good. Fuck, I know they don't commit crime or shit in the street, but can we still deport them anyways? Fuckers ruined my hobby. Sounds kinda like Shadowrun. Also, Californians will be shot on sight. Based. Have fun, Anons. Reminder that Canid folk are friends and can be trained much easier for local militias than some other races. Local Baron sent a missive. Getting pissy we even set up shop in the region. Demands our submission and integration into his realm. Tell him to get bent in the most diplomatic language we can. He musters a levy at the border. Decide to show them how we cleared the land for settlement in the first place. Pick related. Be me, Elphanon, in a war host. Years after Convergence. Centuries for me because the convoluted times, thanks to the gash in reality. Used to be a ranger so the skills translated well in this new world. Been fighting for years in a shithole that the mayflies call Normandy. Place have literal holes, apparently from centuries of war, made by ship artillery. What the whale? .png. Plains are littered with old concrete guard posts and armored chariots. Boomer.gif. I know what casemates and tanks are. The humans around here do not speak English. Rather a language that feels like what the Canids speak. Got a mission to escort a high sorcerer to a rendezvous point near Caen. Then continue to Paris. We begin in the Channel Islands. Ah, at last, Englishmen. Find the age of ET. Oh no.jpg. It's my fucking cousin. She's not a high sorcerer. She's a damn magician at best. Berate her for trying to fool the quick-lived. Drag her ass to Kane. Had to fight demons and even some fae. Wasted my last iron smoke grenades with them. I'm down to only 4 full magazines and 2 308 boxes because demons are tough to kill. Reach Kane. My uncle is there, alongside another war host, ready to drag my cousin back home. Fuck.webp. After hours of negotiation and making sure the short ears wouldn't blow the brains off my uncle, we finally waved them off. Contractor said we'll wait for an actual high sorcerer sent by my uncle. He gets to take my cousin back. Wait for a week. It's my ex. I fucking hate my life. Now I'm stuck in a podunk city state of ye old France with my ex. The humans didn't took to the shift right, so everything is a bit iffy. At least they didn't had to handle with seeing your GF returning home after a mere 5 seconds of her leaving. Then seeing her after 100 years of relationship on our first decade anniversary. Dealing with her past, present, and future hijinks. Then her trying to kill you because she saw my future self with another lass. Saw her produce localized earthquakes to bury me. Alive. Barely made it. Needless to say, the whole situation drove me insane, so we broke off. Talk about a self-fulfilling prophecy. And now, the same raging eyes that blames me for not being considerate are staring at me. I went to this hellhole to get away from her. For lady's sake. She definitely took this offer just to get me killed. I called my uncle. She volunteered to be here, to keep the friendship of you're alive. Made sure to mock me, telling that I look like a sea drake after a month without eating whales. All because I decided to wear the human fatigues. What can I say? These drapes they call smocks are comfortable. Had to deal with their bullshit from here to Rowan. Co-workers make sure to tag along the mockery. Sneers and grins are thrown at me at a pace far faster than their rucking. My sole friend is my L1A1. All have abandoned me. My ears sometimes twitch and I sneeze a lot after the instance. Magic took a toll on me, and I now have a high sorcerer, a well of that, near me. Terrific yippee.png. Before we arrive in Rowan, we had our share of brigands. This time was easy. They were clumsy. I could feel their footsteps, and picking them off was like being at a firing range. It took a while to get used to the loud noise of guns, but after a while, it became fun. It certainly requires less strength and skill. Drawing bows gets your shoulder stiff sometimes. Mid-firefight, I sneezed, and the quiet that came after it was eerie enough to know what happened. I advanced and saw the last 3 we didn't hit. The ones we did, they were swallowed by the ground, or the wounds looked like they were weeks old, putrid, and festering, pus dripping from it. Before we could do anything, we could hear bones snapping and they stopped moving. Except the 3 we didn't hit. One was bleeding from his legs. Not bullets, tree shrapnel, and petrified leaves mangled him. The other 2 had been pierced by shrapnel branches and stone shards. One of my co-workers shot him after he got scared by bark and fungi, spreading rapidly through the man. Another one followed suit, realizing the fate of the other one. I then looked to the lucky one. Holy Grace.gif. Branches were growing out of lad's leg, crushing it and advancing to his torso. He was spouting nonsense that I could barely understand, but I could recognize pleas of mercy when I see one. I got mad enough to finally look at the responsible to this. The bitch was looking at me when I did that. Screamed at her to stop doing this and grant them kindness, or I would report her to the council for this madness. With a smirk, she complied. The fucking branch lunged the poor lad's head and heart. Couldn't do anything, but I knew this was beyond illegal. A wizard wins, an elf shouldn't act like this. Aimed my rifle at her, only for her to smugly say, "We're out of the island. The law doesn't apply here, and I'm not in service of it anymore either." Yeah, she's definitely here to kill me. Fantasy K thread. Forces of the unknown have caused our world to merge/combine with a typical or not so typical fantasy world. Old world governments have managed to hold on to major urban and suburban areas, but rural areas range from fragile peace to complete chaos. People in towns from either side suddenly find themselves in a new realm, and portals going between both worlds are scattered throughout the lands. The old worlds are gone. The two new worlds are in their place. Our side of an SHTF hellhole, and the other side of an untouched land of endless fantastical possibility. Be a stalker, adventurer, hero, or bandit, the new world is yours. This is Fantasia, and you're here forever. Threadly question. What professions do you think will emerge from the convergence? Well, obviously the second oldest profession. Mercenary work is going to see heights it hasn't since the 1500s. Occultists. Also, 900 seconds timer? I hope whoever came up with this and those who agreed as well have a miserable life and die alone. Elphanon continued. The troll halflings I call co-workers kept telling me to put the gun down. They don't know. They're blinded by greed or worse, lust. Typical humans. I had to give up, and the only thing I was doing here was giving her a reason to convince these rabbit spawns to shank me during night. Our march to Rowan was silent. The M60 gunner kept eyeing between me and her. I can sense that he somewhat trusts me, while the others are slowly being seduced by the bitch. I kept fidgeting one of the HG-85 in my grenade pouch, waiting for the sneeze that would signal her backstab. It never came. The arrival to Rowan was perhaps the moment I could breathe freely. She would not dare kill me here. Words travel fast. Even between two mangled scarlet skies and an elf sorcerer still answers to the island. When night fell, I could not sleep. I knew the shadows were looking at me. I hired horse for the entire night to entertain me while I kept loading my magazines. It was the only way I know she wouldn't do anything. It was only when one of the trumpets looked at me with eyes that were not hers that I knew. She is toying with me. I can't escape. Not until this ends. She knows that. I'm trapped. The dreadful feeling was so heavy in my lungs that I felt the need to scream. But to do so would give in to her games. Finally, after an eternity, the sun shone at last. I left the gasp that was stuck in my neck since the skanks were on my lap. Their perfume was nauseating. I left for the market, where I bought a stick of C4. My coin bag felt too light for my taste. Too many expenses. I went for a floriculture, for it was one of the few places in Mayfly cities that have a good aroma. They had an overly friendly zooming zero for a cashier, always trying to catch my attention. Since I didn't want to look odd or mad, I bought a poppy. Before I left the shop, the bitch was there near the exit. My distrust has long turned into hatred. If she's not here for death, I am. She kept walking towards other flowers, pretending that she just met me by chance. The cashier kept staring at me as if I would buy something else. I didn't get it at first until the bitch decided to come near me with a bouquet of roses. Told the cashier that I would pay it as well. The fleeting Foyd's eyes shone like starlight when she thought we were a couple. Even gave me a discount. Fucking hell. Played the game again. Can't cause a scene here. The French are distrustful of all Ultramondo, otherworld as they call it, so any smidgen of goodwill has to be maintained by all of us. She tried to put her arm on mine, quickly shoved her with the pretext of grabbing something in my backpack. By her forceful smile, I knew that she had a clue of what I had in my backpack. I lost the element of surprise with the C4 block, but I wouldn't let her keep that smirk. Luckily for her, I don't feel like preserving my dignity today. I grabbed my reserve coins. You don't keep all your silver coins in a single bag. Not in sagging skin country. Paid for the bouquet. I'll burn this shit somehow. Mark my words. Had to escort the bitch since she requested it. Although she's pretty good at that. Only a fool would fall for her bullshit. Well, all humans are fools, so I had to keep a facade alongside hers, while she kept dragging me to all sorts of unnecessary places. Empty spaces, too. I can't stop thinking about what's her plan and the C4 in my backpack. Yet the day went uneventful. We went back to the hostel. My human co-workers were there. They poked fun at us. Idea. Smirk began to grow. Told them that she spread to me quicker than a dusky. They laugh. She is fuming, cursing me. Good. The gunner laugh was different. It was a nervous one. The bloke with a fancy American weapon, however, was mad. I see what's happening, but decided to go back to my room. Check my bag. She didn't or couldn't use any spell to get rid of anything. I guess she needs to see it. Good to know. The moon moon begins to dance with the sun as both tells their hellos and goodbyes. I really need to stop writing with this kind of prose, but whatever. It's an elf thing. Humans wouldn't get it. The C4 rests near my bed. Hidden, of course. I can't let the human harlots get scared over that. I wish I could sleep, yet I can't. I probably look like the most horny elf on this planet. Hopefully this doesn't start rumors. One of them suddenly runs towards the bathroom. I began to sneeze. Uh-oh.png. Walk towards her. She is vomiting blood. Another one begins to scream. Run back to the room. The others are yelling that she is blind. One is losing her hair, yet she hasn't paid attention yet. The one that is leaving is unusually pale. I can see the shadows growing, the wood creaking. I sense it splitting. I know this air that feels like mud. Oh, now it's on. Shove a pistol to one of the girls. Take her by the arm, as I grab a bottle of vodka that I bought for the harlots. Make a Molotov. Run towards the bitch's room with it alight. Rifle on my back. Kick that door up. When I finally get inside, she is waiting for me with a USP trained at me, still in her daily clothes, not even a nightgown. Yeah, she knew I was coming here. This is why I brought the backup with tits. I order her to stop with this, or I'm teaching her what the humans of Salem did to their witches. I already have an unpinned grenade on my short and the C4 in my underwear. If I die here, she is dying with me. No, I'm not happy to see her. She does it. I can feel it because my eyes aren't burning as if I were cutting onions anymore. I squish my hand on the burning piece of fabric that I ripped from the bedsheet. I can put some anointed gauze on it later. I leave the room, but not before I tell her to use her magic for good and fix this door. Made sure to tell her that she can do this job the easy way or the hard way. It doesn't matter, but she will leave my life, one way or the other. Go back to my room. Looking to go werewolf hunting for a quest. Does anyone know of a place that sells silver-tipped 5.56? Or at least a silver bayonet that'll fit on it? I already got some chainmail, but I don't think I want to get close enough to see if it actually would protect me. Also, does anyone know what bait I should use? Wearing anything but silver chainmail to hunt a werewolf is like wrapping your dick in a napkin to fuck a chainsaw. There's a few organizations who are relatively easy to get in contact that sell silver-jacketed rounds. A lot more ballistically sound than silver-tipped, and just as effective. As for bait, yeah, that might be difficult. Most werewolves prefer to hunt, so live prey and not restrained. They can recognize if you catch a deer and have the thing tied to a tree. For example, just because they're in the form of a beast doesn't mean they've lost all their intelligence. How do you think magic from other worlds would affect our weaponry? All professional shooting and fencing competitions now require someone able to cast Detect Magic on the guns, bullets, and foils. ATF raids the wizard tower of an enchanter who created the spell to produce Bullet of Fed Slaying. Ranges universally ban the use of Vorpal ammunition. Cheap, low-grade enchantment sold to mall ninjas becomes a cottage industry for low-tier spellcasters. Pentagon/think tanks won't stop ranting about the spell gap. DARPA changed to Defense Arcane Research Projects Agency. Panic when it turns out North Korea traded millions of souls to demons to get their MiGs permanently enchanted with invisibility. Still get shot down with heat-seeking munitions. Widespread adoption of enchantment on both arms and ammunition via runes, stones, imbuement, etc. You'd see our companies hiring dwarves, elves, and more. There'd be thousands of small workshops where crafter races like dwarves make their own arms and ammo too. Weapons design would get another explosion of innovation like it did in the early 1900s. I want to head into the wilderness until I find a group of forest elves and then train them to use bolt-action rifles before giving them crates of enchanted Mosins. Forest elves are the most xenophobic group you can find. Hell, deep elves are more hospitable, and most of their major houses still practice slavery. Something like Gate SG-1 or any such situation would be hilarious if it was the DPRK. Gate, immediately offered the Empire troops and technology after kicking their ass after the First Battle of Pyongyang, while using technology to brainwash the Empire into thinking that everyone else is worse than them. The Empire watches Nork TV and nothing else. The Norks industrialize faraway Korea and impose peace upon them with the explicit threat that if Rory Mercury opposes them, they will nuke her and anyone around her. SG-1. Wouldn't be much change besides the DPRK sending hundreds if not thousands of more troops including tanks compared to SG-1. The DPRK would throw nukes through stargates like they were candy. They would also make use of chemical weapons on a massive scale, and BQ Gold don't really care about that sort of thing until they have a Type 73 shoved in their mouth. Norks would totally try to enslave a gold queen and seize a sarcophagus to make their leaders immortal. It would be their primary objective. I says to my wife, "How come you can't take the ring? It just doesn't seem fair making these hobbit kids carry it." And she says to me, "In place of the Dark Lord you will set upon a queen, and I shall not be dark, but beautiful and terrible as the morning and the night. Fair as the sea and the sun and the snow upon the mountain. Dreadful as the storm and the lightning. Stronger than the foundations of the earth. All shall love me in despair." Nice to know she wouldn't let the ring change her. He needs a squad to kill ogres. He refers to mere culling as combat. LMAO. Stick to goblins, kid. Adults are talking. Our side of an SHTF hellhole and the other side of an untouched land of endless fantastical possibility. Be a stalker, adventurer, hero, or bandit. The new world is yours. Spend my time warning them about Earthrealm degenerates. Go to hell. Directly to hell. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. One of the wizards attached to my support company just got steamrolled by some E3 for insinuating that hockey is not the greatest sport ever invented. I've never seen that skinny Canuck move so fast before. A short story of a man and an elf who fucking hates humans. Jim found himself walking down the road outside the city of Aldon, a city of some 10,000. So far this freelance mercenary life seems an upgrade, he thought to himself as he ambled down the road. He'd been the grandson of earthen settlers who'd come through the portal before it was learned that living beings could pass only one way. He'd grown up and lived a mercenary, part of an army for hire in what would have seemed a world of folklore to his ancestors. He'd fought ogres, he'd fought other kingdoms, he'd fought dwarves, elves, even an incubus or two. In his time, he found himself mostly a loner, only occasionally stopping to have his needs nursed by camp whores, maintaining a friendly distance with his friends and relatives. Jim Hansen ambled down the road toward a small village called Pavleen, a few miles from the outskirts of Aldon, who had sought to hire a mercenary to kill off a pestilent being whose presence threatened the town water supply. As Jim walked the road, a voice growled low nearby. "Stop! Stay still and I won't kill you," came a voice from his right. On a soft knoll stood an elf with orange hair. He held his features in a scowl that seemed, in Jim's estimation, to convey a lethal hostility and an intention to kill. Jim looked up at the man without regard to the long dagger he now presented, knowing that were he quick in his actions, he'd best the elf. "Give me your gold, maybe I'll allow you to live," said the elf. As Jim stared unflinching at the elf stared back, his countenance gradually undecipherably shifting as he impressed upon his eyes Jim's likeness. Jim stood in place, his hand rested upon the hilt of a longsword he'd just assisted a swordsmith in manufacturing 2 months prior. As Jim felt his countenance harden, the elves, he noted, softened, his body language shrinking from him. "You're not the usual scared whelp I encounter," he said. Jim stared silently at the elf, scowling a hole in the fur coat that kept his body from withering in the cool early fall breeze. "You're an assassin," the elf remarked, staring at Jim neutrally, relaxing his stance. The elf was no longer poised to pounce, seemingly estimating that there may be risk involved. "You humans aren't so tough," he began, pontificating as Jim looked on without any note of impression crossing his mind, and even less crossing his face. "Usually humans cower at the sight of a blood elf. After invading our realms and cutting off our ears, you usually make no challenge to chop up, crying in terror terror as you face an elf who can fight," he continued. "You sound like you prey on cripples and children, maybe unarmed women if you're feeling brave. Either fight me or fuck off. I'm tired of your slant-eared soliloquies," Jim challenged, drawing the blade of his sword a quarter of the way from its scabbard. "Very well, assassin. Will you fight me on equal ground?" the elf challenged. "In the road." The elf walked down from the knoll and stood amidst the road, looking to Jim as he presented his dagger. "Draw your sword, weakling. I may just have to fashion a necklace of your ears, for the irony of it." "I'm not of the Chinese, and I have no intention of taking your ears," Jim said, seating the blade back into the scabbard, giving himself better leverage to draw with speed. "Do you not wish to draw your sword first? You produce the fight, I'll produce the sword. It will be your death," the elf stated as he charged Jim. With a practiced ease, Jim swiftly drew and swung the sword as the elf charged. The blade cut through the air with a weighty whoosh noise. The result of the duel playing out in a prosaic and unknowably dull fashion. The blade slashed through the air. The elf, having reflexively averted himself, caught the blade in his shoulder, crumpling in an exsanguinating heap upon the road. "Lindis will avenge me," he said. Come on, Neil. Hours passed as the sun fell low. Jim set about the task of building camp, building a fire, and cooking some meat that he'd gotten in town over the fire. Without much event, the evening passed into darkness. Jim set himself to sleep without incident as time and darkness wore upon him. In his dream he recalled a border skirmish, a rushed sense of confusion, a mechanically insatiable drive to get to the front, the exact revenge on whoever it had been that had done. What exactly, in this haze, he could not rightfully recall. Seemingly, the rush of the clashing line had been everywhere and nowhere at once. A sound, like the running of a motorized saw that people from Riftwood tended to use in their forestry, crept into his mind. Jim started from his sleep. Sitting up, he'd noted that his mouth was dry. The beating of his heart was achingly fast. His breath was hurried and bated. He slipped from his sleeping bag, swiftly donning his boots and his cuirass. Running to his sword, and lifting it from the ground, he searched around, trying to find anything amiss. The nothing around him made no sound. No advance, no signs of a fight coming. He reached for his scabbard and set the sword at his side. Took a drink of water and noticed a scent. A scent like the burning of fiber, and the concentrated aroma of wet pine began to overpower his sense of smell. More and more the burning fiber's scent gave way to a minty note. He drew his sword again, his eyes adjusted to the darkness. He could see almost nothing. "Jim!" He turned and pointed his sword to the sound of the voice. "It's me, remember?" The voice, whose bearer remained hidden from view, began to sound familiar. "Harry? That's me. To your right." Jim lowered his sword and set it in the scabbard. "The hell are you doing here? Is that smell from you?" "Yeah, I got one of these bicycles from a camp of elves. Seems the Chinese and Japanese are supplying them for some reason." "I thought I was about to join my brothers and sisters," Jim said, his face falling as he recalled the sound like a very loud steel bee, echoing through the forest. "Worse yet, I've talked to the people in Riftwood. They say the examples they've seen are bigger boars. They're not limiting them like when the Japanese supplied them when we were kids. They're giving them 300s. They have the same attritional issues, but they don't wear out in 20 to 50 hours like the 125s they were giving them." "But they do wear out, right?" Jim asked. "Yeah, but so far the guys in Riftwood have been getting 150, 200, 230 hours out of the top ends. Pistons are easy to swap, but these ones are good. It was bad enough when the elves killed my family. Yeah, and the 125s were junk after 30 hours. I'll never forgive those little cunts for killing Sarah. She was just 5 years old. And Lily, and Kyle, and Cody." Jim trailed off before extracting himself from the terrors of youth. "So, what's the way of things?" "The elves are getting territorial. Only problem is the new bikes and stocks of parts and fluids. They're getting further into our shit. I guess China's been supplying them this time because they want what everyone else does, and are more bold about grabbing it." "Fuck me running? So what now?" Jim inquired. "If my ass was your ass, I'd run my ass to Riftwood. Do you know how to ride one of these machines?" He led Jim to a contraption that looks like a horse saddle with 2 wheels and a small locomotive engine slung between. "No," Jim admitted. I'd get to Riftwood then and learn, Henry said, mounting the bike. These will become much more important out in the woods. They have great mobility, faster than horses, Harry added, donning a large helmet, twice as big as his head. One more thing. Run! There's some elf bandits, and the one you killed is the runt of the group. With that, Harry revved the engine, expelling fragrant smoke, and rode away. The bike rode away, blasting out a stream of that fragrant smoke as Harry traversed the forest directly, moving in the direction of Silas, flinging a tail of dirt behind the rear wheel as it spun faster than the bike. Fuck, Jim thought to himself. I almost don't blame that hunting party. But why can't they be here when we actually need them? He thought to himself. Since they're so mad about some ears 70 years ago, maybe I can put a cow tag on one of these bandits. Harold Fulmer. 4 hours later, Harold arrived to a perimeter zone outside Riftwood, navigating the minefield by the texture of the ground. The sun was rising just below the horizon as he did so, and he occasionally slowed, grabbing the clutch to panic rev the engine, alerting the sentries that he was coming, and intended to have it known. After several minutes, he rolled up to the gate of the wall. It's one of the Red Bull guys, the guard said. Hearing the two-stroke engine idle, its nervous rhythm of unsteady ignition speeds. I'm here about the elves, Harry said. Really? One of their 70-year-old GPXs? The gate guard said, pointing at the gray motorcycle. Yes, I kinda like it. Smells nice. Well, I presume you're here for General Johnson. No, I'm here for Sean Rawl. The guard's expression went from sour to downright bemused. Right. He'd know all about these things. Well, if you know where you're going, I'll send you on your way. The guard steadied his rifle on its sling, low against his hip, and stepped on the counterweight of the gate bar, allowing Harry to make his way inside the town, and to Modest Manor, which housed an open garage filled with various years of off-road motorcycles, ranging from 70-year-old 2020s models on back to those over a century past. He rode to the entrance and stopped the motor. A song from 100 years ago was heard from inside, but not overpowering Sean as he limped out. Harry, what news do you bring? Be a stalker, encounter elf, throw bolt at her to test, get shot with lightning. Be that. I think I got myself involved in a holy war because of a woman. Let me explain. Asleep in a cabin I built in a woods not long ago. Something wakes me up, not sure what. Hear a rumble at the foot of my bed. Look down and see my dog growling while looking at the cabin door. Oh good, another forest spirit is trying to start shit. Grab my shotgun. Old Sears and Roebuck Model 200 my granddad left for me when he died. It served me well since I came over. Served me even better after I paid a dwarf to give her some more kick. Pull on a pair of pants and boots, and grab my hunting coat. Put on my holster and make sure my old M9 is ready to go to work. My dog meets me at the door. Tell him to stay. He's a good dog, but he gets excited whenever he's hunting something. And last time I let him get after an intruder, it looked like a scene from a monster movie. Dog lets out an annoyed huff and flops to the ground with a thud that makes the cabin rattle. Open the door and hear what sounds like someone praying. Fucking wood elves, every time they wander into my area of the woods, they always try to start shit. Stand outside and listen for a bit to figure out which direction the branch fondlers are chanting from. Start walking, and as the chanting grows louder, I see an orange glow from a fire. Not the local tree diddlers then. Must be a cult. Get closer to the clearing the cult is, and see that it's actually a group of dudes from the nearby church. Call themselves the Church of Light or some bullshit, and it's weird to see them so deep in the forest. Also see a woman tied up to a post in the middle of the clearing surrounded by dead branches. That explains it. I know a sacrificial pier when I see one. She's not saying anything, just glaring at the group of dudes around her. Hunkered down to see what they're up to as the church guy with the fanciest robe starts going on about how the enemy of their god walk among them and tries to lead them astray. Ah, he must have knocked the chick up then. Fish out a pair of small binos I keep in my coat. Can't say that I blame him. She's a solid 7 even though she looks like she got the shit beat out of her. Nice rack too. As soon as I finish the thought, her head whips around to stare at me. She can't read minds, can she? Her eyes start wandering around near my hiding spot while the leader starts chanting in some weird language. The other holy men start chanting too, and the woman starts to panic. The men chant louder and louder. I swear the flames get bigger. Shit's starting to dance in the shadows. and there's bad juju in the air. The woman is actively trying to break free of her restraint, but it's not working, and she turns to look back in my general area. I know you're out there. Help me. I think it's time to mosey out of... Please, I'll pay in gold. This hiding spot and help this poor woman in need. Step out of my hiding spot, shotgun in hand. Howdy. The group turns to look at me and stops chanting. Fires go back to normal and all the weird shit stops. Everyone stares at me. A few guys draw swords and underneath their robes I see plate armor. Immediately relax. It's a traditional church that rejects modern wet. Head priest's hands start to crackle with energy. Ah fuck. Head priest glares at me. You are intruding. Leave. I point my shotgun at his face. No. A few guys move closer with their swords, but the priest waves them down. Please help me. They attacked me and said I was a witch. The woman tied to the pole shouts at me. The priest nods. She's the witch that practices the dark arts in these woods. We've caught her and are going to put an end to her sorcery. I look around. These woods? The priest frowns. Yes, these woods. I look at the witch. Are you a witch? She shakes her head. No. A dilemma. Also, she probably lied about having gold. Time to get them to leave. Look, someone paid me to protect these woods, so that's what I do. Have been for a few years. I point to the not witch with my shotgun. Also, I've never seen her before, so she's not from my woods. She's glaring at me now. These aren't your woods. Yes, they are. No, they're not. I sigh. Look, lady, I have a slip of paper that says I am. Signed in blood and everything. Should I have said that last part? The priest snaps his fingers and a bolt of energy strikes the ground at my feet. Guess not. Who paid you? He asks. I shrug. Don't remember a name. Just remember being told to protect the woods that you're standing in and starting fires. Remember, Anons, only you can prevent forest fires. Head priest looks unimpressed. We answer only to our goddess on high. May she forever light our way. We will not listen to a foreign mercenary who runs around the woods practicing blood magic and pretends to be a forest guardian. Kill him and let's get on with this. Nearest two guys with swords try to bum rush me. Fire the shotgun, and as the buckshot leaves the gun, dwarven runes light up along the barrel. First guy goes down hard. Must still be alive because I hear him gurgle. Pump, turn, and fire at the second guy who goes down without a face. Something whizzes by my head and I look around to find another guy reloading a crossbow at the other side of the clearing. Pump the shotgun again, aim, and fire. Mr. Crossbow goes down screaming about being covered in hellfire. Calm down, dude. It's just buckshot. Hear the not a witch yelling at me and turn to see the head priest muttering under his breath with his eyes closed. See magical energy building up around him. Pump another round and fire. No effect on target. Pump another round and fire. Still no effect on target. Pump last round and turn to bail. Untie me, Miss Fake Witch shouted. Nope, her name's Lillian. I freeze. That's who you signed the contract with. The spirit of the woods. Fuck me. I sprint over to the pyre and see that the Nada witch isn't tied to the post. She's chained, and the chains are enchanted. Look over to see the head priest is almost done doing bullshit power-up. Smack the chains a few times with the butt of my shotgun. The strengthening runes in the stock of the gun burn blue, but the chains glow a brighter red. These chains have some serious magic juice running through them. I can't break the chains, I tell the Nada witch as I start loading party shells into my boomstick. I wish I brought my dog. They marked me with a seal. If you break it, I'll handle the rest. Thunderbolts start striking in the clearing. I look up and see there's not a cloud in the sky. I'm getting real sick of magical faggotry. Have been since I moved here. I turn to see the priest isn't where I left him, but the two guys I killed earlier are starting to get back up. I look around for the crossbow man and I see the head priest is standing over him. And fuck me if he isn't lit up like a Christmas tree with magic bullshit. I move in front of the lady and look for an amulet or collar or anything like that. She rolls her eyes. They branded me. Move the shotgun to my left hand and pull my buck knife. Thanks again, Gramps. Out of its holster and unfold it. I cut her robe open and see around for the brand. Something slams into my back and knocks me into her. Feel the shotgun get knocked out of my hand. It doesn't hurt, but I can't move my left arm for some reason. Also glad she's got built-in airbags. I look at her and she's got some legit concern in those pretty green eyes. Which side? I ask as my head starts getting woozy. She motions to her left arm with her head as she's looking even more concerned. Oh, thank God, the right arm would have been tricky. I grip my knife and slash her arm a few times. The screaming means it's working, right? Immediately fall off the sacrificial pyre and hit the dirt hard. Cough a few times as the wind gets knocked out of me. See a massive lightning bolt flash over where I was just standing. Assume the magical not witch just got crispified. Sit up and feel something tear into my back. I must have got hit with a bolt from the crossbow. That's not good. See that the 2 undead guards are staggering towards me with their swords out. Both are screaming in pain as they move. Well, one's screaming. The one with half a face sounds like he's getting waterboarded as he sprays bloody chunks everywhere. Fucking holy necromancers. Awkwardly pull my M9 out of its holster while sitting on my ass and aim at the one I hit in the chest earlier. Miss the first 3 shots and the dude keeps screaming and shambling. It looks like he's crying blood. That's a new one. Try to focus, but there's lightning striking all around me. Undead holy men screaming and crying, and lights flashing in every color like there's a gay rave happening. Take a deep breath, focus, aim, fire. Pop the bastard in the dome and he drops like a sack of shit. Aim at the second one. He's still trying to scream, but it's all coming out garbled and I see a piece of his tongue dangling out of what's left of his mouth. Fire, miss, fire, hit him in the shoulder. He stumbles and starts crying louder, full-on garbled weeping and sobbing now. Try to line up another shot and he bursts into bright green flames. He screams like a banshee as he falls to his knees. Screaming finally stops as he falls backwards. Look at my M9. I don't remember enchanting this one. Hear whispering behind me. Turn around and see that Miss Not a Witch is actually a witch, and she's holding my shotgun. Is her skin a different color now? Wait, that's my fucking shotgun, you little shit. Try to say something to that effect, but I just mumble and drool on myself. Why am I drunk and cold now? Oh, I think I'm going into shock. She shoots me a worried glance before raising the shotgun at something. Time to look at the head priest. He's got one hand on the head of the crossbow guy, who's screaming and shriveling up like a raisin. Head priest's eyes are sparkling with magic like he's got a Tesla coil shoved up his ass. Shoots a massive blast of electrical energy at Miss Might Be a Witch. She dodges like a fucking ballerina, raises the shotgun and fires. Click. She looks down at it in confusion, then at me, panic in her eyes. Rack it again and bang is all I can manage. Try to make the motion, but left arm is useless, so I look like a retard trying to jack myself off with my right arm. Good luck, lady. Amazingly, she picks up what little I put down, works the pump and smiles as the spent shot shell flies out. She fires just as I realize she's chambered my first party round trademark. Behold, it's a homemade dragon's breath round, but the fire's green and way more powerful than I remember. The blue dwarven runes on the barrel burn super bright then go out. Oh shit, she pushed a fuck ton of magic through my poor shotgun. The head priest starts screaming and flailing around as he's engulfed in cleansing flame. You can't always prevent forest fires, sometimes you start them. He drops the burning husk of what's left of Crossbow Man and sprints off into the forest. Guess that means we won. Drop my M9 as I start to black out. Last thing I see is the magic witch lady running towards me and yelling something before I go to sleep. I walk into the only gun shop that doesn't discriminate against orcs in the 7th sector of Uranus. God, I hate living in this frozen hellhole. It's too cold for people without thick fur coats. I'm not a polar bear. I look at what the shop has on display. GMPG with the lightweight enchantment. Precision rifles with the resist air enchantment. A minigun with the prevent overheating enchantment. A disintegrator. All of these are things I already have. I ask the shopkeeper for something special or unique. He says he has just the thing. He pulls out an M1911 and begins the same old spiel. 2 world wars, 2 space wars, 2 intergalactic wars. I stop him. I've heard it all before. Why would I take this antique over a more modern option? He disassembles the gun and shows me the barrel. This gun has a rare oversized enchantment. You'll fire a 45 Super FMJ out of this gun that has a 6-inch barrel which will fly at 1,300 feet per second, and once the bullet has left the barrel, it'll grow to a 15-pound ball. This tiny thing is a behemoth slayer. Few space creatures can survive it. I begin to realize just what this gun was capable of when he added, by the way, if you shoot a tracer through this thing, it turns into an incendiary cannon round. I giddily walked out of the shop with my brand new toy, eager to see what this would do to the gnome who slept with my third wife. Maybe I'd catch them in the act and be able to use one round on them both.